think we are set. Well, good morning, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to the Cook County Board of Commissioners Annual Organizational Meeting. And if we would stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, I clocked your toes.
Well, this morning, we have some very important business. We have an oath of office that need to be taken by a number of people who were elected back in November. And so Kim Shepard is with us today to do the duties.
I don't know how you want to all, I know you two need to come up. I'll do you all up, do it once. But as far as I understand, everybody but James that's up here is doing the oath of office plus those two.
Correct.
I don't know if you want to stand in your spot.
All right.
Where, yeah. This will be perfect, right? All right, okay. So, again, as Ann said, I'm Kim Shepard and I work in Court Administration, and it is my pleasure to administer the oath of office to the following people. So Deb White, County Commissioner, District 1, Stacy Hawkins, District 2, David Mills, District 3, Virginia Storley, District 5, we have Pat Eliason as Sheriff, Molly Hicken, County Attorney, Brady Powers, County Auditor, and then Dusty Nelms for the County Recorder. So if you could all raise your right hand and repeat after me. I do solemnly swear
I do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of Minnesota,
the Constitution of the State of Minnesota,
and that I will faithfully and impartially discharge
that I will faithfully and impartially discharge
the duties of the office for Cook County,
the duties of the office for Cook County,
to which I have been elected,
to which I have been elected,
to the best of my knowledge and ability,
to the best of my knowledge and ability,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Sign your form and give it back to me.
Thank you, Todd.
Okay.
A correct one.
Sign the
There
form
you
as
go.
well.
Mhm.
Thank you, Kim.
Thank you, Kim.
I don't know the day she got to fill it out.
I did the third.
Oh, the third, thank you.
Did I show it? This is for James. I don't know if I showed him that.
And I always use my middle initial, I put it in there.
Okay,
That's official.
okay, sounds good, thank you.
All right, well, I think we have all of our forms signed and turned in to Kim, and thank you again, Kim. We appreciate all you do for us. So the next item on our agenda following the oath of office is election of 2023 Cook County Board Chair. And I guess we can talk a little bit about this, but there has been some discussion prior to this point in time and inquiries as to who would be willing to be board chair. Normally, it is the vice chair, but this year, our vice chair chose not to run for election for District 1, and so we have kind of a unique situation. So if everybody is supportive of this, what we've talked about is to do a continuation of my chair position and then have Dave Mills serve as vice chair for this year. Any comments or remarks?
Madam Chair, was that a discussion that we've had, or?
Not as a group. That's why I'm
Okay,
bringing it
okay,
up today, so
right,
that we can
yeah.
talk about that. Because it's, we, in the past, have tried to follow with having someone who has been our vice chair step into that position. It's not happened. I did talk to people individually about the leadership position, and people were a bit reluctant in serving as vice chair or chair, so.
I know in the past, we've, in a perfect situation, the chair serves the vice chair, then the next year becomes the chair. But I think we have to look at it every year, don't you think? Yeah.
Madam Chair, I have mixed feelings about the regular rotation. I see benefits there. I also see benefits for people working with their strengths, and not always all people have the strengths to run a meeting or whatnot. So I don't at all feel attached to the regular rotation. And as Commissioner Storley said, I think we just have to look at it 1 year at a time. I think to try to be as fair as possible, it's good to have that rotation, but I don't think we have to stick at or with it.
Yeah,
To a
that would
T.
be my thought as well. Commissioner Hawkins, your thoughts?
Yep, I agree with all of you.
Okay.
Absolutely not everyone has the required personality or skills to be a chairperson. And so to just take turns is not smart business, so.
Seems arbitrary, kind of.
Yeah, what, we're not going to be happy if we don't get a turn? Really?
Any other questions or remarks? If not, we would need a motion.
I'll make the motion to nominate Ann Sullivan as our board chair for '23.
Thank you, Commissioner Hawkins. Is there support?
Support.
All right, we have a motion and support. Any further discussion? Not? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And then we would have the position of vice chair. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion to nominate Dave Mills as our vice chair for 2023.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Hawkins. Is there support?
Support.
Commissioner Starley, we have a motion and support. Any further discussion? Seeing or hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, we'll move on to our next items, and that would be additions or adjustments to our agenda. Is there anything that we should include or any changes that we see?
Madam Chair, I would just ask if we could add on the mileage rate for 2023. The federal rate just changed. If we could just make a motion to accept the federal rate as we've done in the past.
All right. We will put that as item C under your items. Thank you so much. So with that, any other additions, changes? If not, is there a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
Support.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Starley. We have a motion. Is there support? Thank you, Commissioner Hawkins. We have a motion and support to approve our adjusted agenda. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, at this point, we have our public comment period. It's an opportunity for citizens to appear before the board. I see no one out in front of us this morning. It is an organizational meeting, so I'm not really surprised. But do we have any public comment that has been received via email?
Madam Chair, we have not.
All right, thank you. So we'll move on to item 7 and set the meeting schedule for the Cook County Board of Commissioners. And so this is an opportunity for us to approve the regular agenda, and the schedule that is posted here is the same as we have had in the last couple of years. So we're looking at board meetings on the second and fourth Tuesday at 8:30, and then our committee of the whole meeting on that Tuesday that's sandwiched in between, and that would be at 10:30. Any questions or remarks about that? If not, I'd move to approve the meeting schedule for the Cook County Board of Commissioners as written.
I will second that.
I need a motion first.
Oh, I make a motion to approve the calendar, the schedule as written.
Thank you so much, Commissioner White. And do we have a second?
Support.
Thank you, Commissioner Hawkins. So we have a motion and support for our calendar. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. So now, this is typically the lengthier part of our meeting. We have the appointment of county commissioners to various boards, committees, and commissions. And this is something that we have been reviewing and looking at for a period of time. And we all have a list that April Zimmer, our administrative assistant, has provided to us, which we've reviewed. So I guess the best way to do this is to kind of proceed with the list as she has provided it. Commissioner White.
Before we start, could there be a public explanation as to why there are so many committees? Like why are these committees? Do they benefit, or is it managed from a commissioner being on the committees, or does that skew how a public committee operates if there's a person sitting on the board that might have some influence as to what they do or monetarily? And then I just think, because I didn't know that some of these positions or attendants are mandatory. And so I think it would be very helpful, since years ago there were not that many committees that commissioners sat on. So the public needs to know. I mean, they need to better understand the role. Even though I know people watch, there's all of this efforts to get the information out. I think this would be a good time for anybody who really wants to watch an exciting meeting like today, organizational meeting. It's important that people know why these things are happening.
Absolutely. I think that's an excellent question and something that all of us can contribute to in terms of response. I can say that there are a variety of different types of committees, commissions, and boards that we all serve on. And some of those we are voting members on as commissioners. An example that I would share with you is I serve on the Rainy River, Vermilion River, One Watershed, One Plan Policy Committee. Did it. And as I have served on that, that is an organization that looks at a watershed. It's not specifically assigned to one county. So there are commissioners from St. Louis County, there are commissioners from Lake County as well as Cook County who serve on there. We work with the Board of Water Resources, we work with SWCD. It's
What
an
is SWCD?
Soil Water Conservation District. And that's one thing I think is a really good point, that when we use letters or acronyms, we explain to the public what that is. So I appreciate that. But it's an opportunity for an intergovernmental group to come together to work on policy. So that would be one example. Is there a commissioner that would like to share maybe another example of something where either they're a voting member or not a voting member and what their role might be like? Commissioner Storley.
Thank you. To your point, Deb, I serve on the ARDC, Arrowhead Regional Development Commission. And on that board, only commissioners can be on. Then we have a general meeting of everybody, city representatives, township representatives, and we meet in Duluth. I would like to give it a bigger umbrella, though. Everything that we do and serve on local, whether it's library or whatever, is for the good of understanding how the county works and how we participate and how we bring all of that information back here to share with everybody else and to say, you know, I have a situation where I need your support, and discuss it and go back then to that commission or board to say, this is the support from Cook County. So in general, it is serving locally but regionally, which is 11 counties.
So these local organizations, do they come to the commissioners to do their explanation, or are the commissioners always the go-betweens?
At times they do, but mainly we're the ones that leave and go to those meetings outside of Cook County.
Oh, yes, outside of Cook County, but inside Cook County. So the commissioners become the voice piece for local organizations?
We can, well, not necessarily. Let's say we have a library board representative, and he might, and that's Commissioner Mills, and he might say, I'm going to have a representative from the library board come and explain their budget for 2022, and then they would come before the board.
So the local organizations respond to how the commissioners request or ask them to do different things.
And sometimes it's just for information.
Sure, okay. Thank you.
Does that help?
Yes.
So another type of organization would be the HRA, and Commissioner Hawkins serves
HRA is?
the Housing Redevelopment Authority, and she serves as our commissioner representative, and maybe you can talk about your role on that type of committee.
Yeah, I am not a voting member on that. I am there to maybe provide discussion and listen and report back to this committee or this board about the actions and what might be needed, and but I'd also like to touch on like the Highway Advisory Committee, Revolving Loan Fund, Budget Advisory Committee that I serve on. Those are advisory committees made up of local volunteers, and I'm the commissioner representative, and I think those are really important for a commissioner to be involved in. It's the public giving input, but then also from the board perspective, for the public to know the board's perspective in those discussions before it becomes a matter to this board to vote on.
Okay.
Great example. Commissioner Mills.
Well, I think everyone covered it pretty well. Yeah, there's a number of different formats. Some are joint powers agreements, so those are legally bound with our regional partners, other counties, perhaps with the state or whomever. Oftentimes, those boards are the way to funnel state resources or federal resources to the county or counties that are a part of that joint powers agreement. And so it's not mandatory that we go, but we are voting
really good
members,
idea.
but it's a very good idea, yes. And I would say that's the case for most of the boards. None of this is mandatory. We more or less do what we want, but it's in their community's best interest for as much as we can participate as possible, because we gather the information from the public, we can help, as Commissioner Hawkins said, inform the boards, and then also get information from those councils, advisory councils, and then work with staff too. So it's a lot of go-between, kind of taking it all in from all sides, and then sharing information or dishing it out as need be. And so yeah, at those regional levels, it gets a lot more complex, I feel like. At the local level, it's a lot more grassroots, hands-on. And there's different requirements for some. Some we are voting members, some we are not. We're just there for information sharing or gathering and perspective. The ones where we are voting members, it's usually with a joint power situation.
Sure.
So. As far as the number of them, there's actually, I guess I don't know how far back you're referring to, but there was a significant paring down when I joined, and Commissioner Storley might have better perspective than me, but when I joined the board, because there's been a lot of change up in District 1 specifically, and so a lot of those duties have kind of been spread out to other commissioners, and some were dropped because we didn't have the capacity to do that. And so I've been trying to look at what was dropped and have struggled because that's right when they started. So I don't have a whole lot of perspective there, and I struggled to find information on our internet as far as anything before 2018. But as we go through this list, if there's any that are irrelevant, I suspect we'll make that known and drop those, but we kind of go through this every year to try to stay on top of things. It's just when there's, significant change that it makes it hard, because if we lose a commissioner, the other 4 commissioners don't have a whole lot of perspective of those meetings, right? Because we're not going there, so that makes it tricky, and I guess it makes it all that more important that we communicate what we're doing in these groups, but there's so many that it's challenging to share all of that, so.
Well, and as for District 1, I mean, those are my constituents, and those are my communities that are sometimes all of our communities are fairly unique to one another.
Mm-hmm.
And I have every intention of being involved with whatever happens on that end of the county. So I'm their spokesperson, and I did it for 12 years on the school board, and I don't expect to not do it as a commissioner. So, okay, thank you. I hope those listening were taking notes.
If not, it's recorded.
And also, on our county website, we do post, once all of this information, all our decisions are made today, that is posted, so everybody knows who to contact, and we will, make sure that that is accurate and updated. Commissioner Mills.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And just one other thing I'd point out, and I guess it was alluded to, if not explicitly said, is that so much of the work gets done before it comes to this board. And so there's a lot that maybe isn't recorded, but public can be involved in all of those meetings, or most of those meetings, I guess. The county committees are private public meetings. But that work is so important to inform this board and to help guide us on what decisions we want to make. So there's just a lot of weight, I think, in those councils and committees to help us along. It's a really good tool for us.
Is that helpful, Deb?
Yes.
All right, thank you, Commissioner White. Thanks to all the commissioners. Any input that either Administrator Yorkie, Attorney Hicken, or Auditor Powers would like to add?
I'd just like to thank Commissioner White for asking that question, because this conversation here, I think, is really illuminating for anybody who's listening. I think there's not a good understanding of what commissioners do when they're not in meetings here where people can see. And there's really, as you said, the majority of the work happens when we're not in the business meeting of the county board. So it's important for people to know that, and to know that there's a big time commitment on the part of all the commissioners to represent us at these various regional boards. And that representation is really important to make sure that Cook County's interests are considered.
Anything else anyone would like to add to that discussion? If not, April has provided us with a list by district, and typically what we do is go through that list, and first of all, affirm that commissioners would like to continue with items that are listed for their district, and then we get into the discussion as we go down. If there are items that organizations, boards, commissions, that a commissioner would like to or would be willing to give up. And one of the things I brought up at our last meeting is there's been an inequitable distribution of responsibilities due to changes in District 1 and then the special election and such. And so this is our opportunity annually to get a more equitable workload for commissioners. All right, so we'll go to District 1, and the first item listed is the Active Living Steering Committee.
I would like to say that yes, I read the definitions and what they do. And I also understand that there's value in continuity of people who have served on a committee because they don't have to learn a lot. I mean, they know it. And so beyond wanting to be part of everything that happens on District 1, I believe that I'm willing to do anything, any of the committees that would be, not interfere with the commissioner's understanding of what's going on and that would most benefit the public. So I will sit quietly and you all can, you all can let me have what's left over.
Commissioner Mills.
Madam Chair, I appreciate that, but I hope that you speak up if there is something that you have a stronger desire to be a part of as well, just because interests can change and all those dynamics. But what you said is absolutely true too, the value of that continuity. So.
I think the other thing that's important to acknowledge is that for you, Commissioner White, being on the east end of the county, if you've got a meeting in Duluth, that's a bigger lift for you than it is for Commissioner Storley because she's starting out a lot closer. So just being aware of the additional time commitment that would be required on your part.
Commissioner Mills.
Another thing to point out is some of these meetings, regional meetings or meetings that are afar, do have the option of virtual meetings. So not always, but that is a really powerful option if we can do that. It saves a lot of time and county resources. So.
Yeah. All right, well, so we have the Active Living Steering Committee. Commissioner Mills has served as the alternate. Is there any information you'd like to share with Commissioner White about that committee? Have you attended recently?
No, I have not. I don't think I've ever had to be the alternate. The only time Commissioner Swalson was not able to attend, I think I also was not able to attend due to AMC commitments.
AMC?
That's the Association of Minnesota Counties.
Okay.
That is an organization that includes all 87 counties in the state. And we have annual meetings where all commissioners from the state, are not all, but most go. And then there's policy meetings. Also, they host new commissioner training, which I would highly recommend. They also host our legislative session, which we get to meet with the representatives and kind of express our priorities as a community, as well as the priorities that we've developed as the organization of AMC, Association of Minnesota Counties. Sidetrack, that was a tangent, but that's what that is.
Okay.
As far as the Active Living Steering Committee is concerned, I sat on that actually when I was on the city council and can give a little bit of perspective. It has pretty much just what it's called, is really trying to develop active living and healthy living and ways we can promote that and encourage that in our community. And so there's a partnership between the school, the city, and the county and Grand Portage, and I guess ARDC is also involved.
ARDC
is the Arrowhead Regional Development Council. And that's Commissioner Storley sits on that, and that's another regional organization that can provide a lot of funding and does a lot of big projects, a lot of planning, strategic planning, and that. So another real powerful, useful resource there. And so some of the examples I think are, and with the highway department as well, developing ways when we do road improvements, how we can incorporate more active living into that improvement to try to be more cost effective. And so there's lots of looking at grants. I believe the SHIP coordinator, that's the State Health Improvement Program. Partnership, thank you. And so Christina Matson is our SHIP coordinator. And so she facilitates that meeting and pursues funding. And one of the more recent projects that I'm aware of, well, there's the Walk to School, but then also the potential for that walking path along the new Gunflint from the corner of the law enforcement all the way up to 5th Avenue West. So some good things happening there and really, really encouraging.
Well, thank you so much for that explanation. Looking at the list of different organizations that are listed for District 1. I do note that there are a number of organizations, the Arrowhead Coalition for Multiple Use, Arrowhead Regional Development Commission, Transportation Advisory Committee, and the Grand Portage Community Task Force, the Minnesota Transportation Alliance, and lastly, Pigeon River International Emergency Management Committee. Those have not met during or since the pandemic. So I think it's important we leave those on there because at some point they may come up.
Okay.
But we just wanted to make sure that was listed there in terms of just awareness for you.
Okay.
All right. Let's see, I'm looking at any of these. One item I noted, Firewise Community Committee. It lists District 1 Commissioner as an alternate. And then what will be interesting for that committee when they meet is I serve as the commissioner who attends. Commissioner Swallison, former Commissioner Swallison attends because of his involvement with Fire Department and Homeland. So it's interesting to be able to still have that connection there. So are there any on here, Commissioner White, that you see that you would like further explanation on, or that you would feel that it wouldn't be appropriate for you to serve for any kind of conflict of interest or anything of that nature?
No, I think that I can, they would all be fine. Like I said before, the sitting commissioners and the continuity of their committees, there's value in that. There's great value in that. And so I think that I'll pick up where Commissioner Swalson was
Okay.
and take it from there. And if I find that there's one that's not a good fit at all, I will, of course, let somebody know. But otherwise,
We're aware that all these things do work logistically in terms of calendar. That's another important factor,
Yes.
that we don't have groups that are meeting at the same time, so.
Right.
All right. But sometimes, of course, things do change, times when organizations or days when organizations meet. And so it's important we bring that to this group right away and deal with it appropriately. Commissioner Hawkins.
Oh, I have two things I wanted to say. First of all, sometimes you discover in the course of things that maybe you do want that other committee assignment. I did that with Commissioner Mills last time. We were talking to Extension Board and Community Center Board, and there was a little bit of a disconnect between the two boards, so I asked to be the commissioner on both boards.
oh,
Because he was getting some information here, and I was getting some here, and so, and Commissioner Mills was open to that, which I appreciate, and I think that's helped the communication-wise between the two boards. So sometimes it's good to speak up and say, no, can we reevaluate? The second thing is that I did notice on our spreadsheets that not every commissioner had listed the community leadership joint powers. And it's not listed under District 1 here.
Okay.
And that is one that I think all of us
Yes.
commissioners should attend. That's a city, county, school, hospital, and we did have township come sometimes, Grand Portage.
They're on the list.
Yep,
Yeah.
so I think we should make sure that all commissioners
absolutely.
are listed on that one.
Good point. Very good point. All right, we will add that community leadership
Yep.
piece to District 1. All right, let's jump down to District 2. Commissioner Hawkins, are there any committees that you feel you should give up, or anything you're thinking of that might be appropriate to add?
I'm really happy with my committee list, so I'm willing to stay. There is one correction for the Community Center Board. I got an email last week. They're going to move, we have a meeting tomorrow, but they're suggesting we move to the fourth Thursday of every month, and that there are 8 meetings scheduled for 2023. So it's not every other month, but they've kind of spread it out, so just heads up.
All right, so Community Center Board of Trustees, fourth Thursday, and do you have the time on that?
3 o'clock,
3 o'clock.
I'm assuming. We'll verify that tomorrow, I guess.
All right.
When we have our committee meeting, that everybody agrees.
Perfect. All right. Thank you. District 3, Commissioner Mills.
Madam Chair? So I really hate giving committees up, but recognize I was carrying more than others, and so probably it makes sense to try to find some to hand off. I do have concerns about the continuity, as Commissioner White mentioned, but the groups are strong and resilient and not hinging on me by any means. So the two that I was looking to hand off would be the Northeast Minnesota Office of Job Training. And that is one of the regional meetings, and that is a joint powers agreement that we have. It talks about a lot about our workforce and the challenges of employment, whether that be not enough workers or not enough jobs, what industries are in greater need, with the demographics of employment and potential employment, just maybe some of the challenges in getting appropriate training and education. And some of the things that I most value from those meetings are the updates from other commissioners, what's going on in those other counties, as well as the updates from DEED, the Department of what does DEED stand for? Department of Economic
Development.
Salary? DEE.
Economy and
Employment.
Employment, okay, yeah. There we go.
employment and economic development.
That wasn't very hard, huh? And so that really helps, just learning about what's going on in the state. I think that's pretty great as far as workforce and jobs are considered. So we have been able to meet virtually since COVID started. In-person meetings are encouraged, and but it is, quite a drive to Virginia. So that's not always practical, or the meeting is usually an hour and a half or 2 hours. So to make a 2.5 hour drive or whatever to Virginia and back, 5 hours total for that length of time doesn't always make a whole lot of sense. So.
And can you verify the day and time of that meeting?
11 a.m. second Tuesday. I'm gonna make sure that's on there.
Which is. the
Oh,
day-
second Thursday. I'm sorry.
Okay, I was going to
Thursday.
say.
Hey.
And I was like, how many times did you get to go?
Yeah.
0. No. No, second Thursday. Thank you for that question,
All right.
Administrator Yorkie, or Madam Chair. And then the other one I was considering, which is harder for me to let go of, would be the Public Health and Human Services Local Mental Health Advisory Council. And that meets monthly, 1 p.m., second Tuesday of the month. And our community has some real needs we're trying to address and helps and support, and that council is an important avenue for that. So I hope a commissioner who is able and has interest would be willing to step up on either of those.
So are there any commissioners that would entertain the thought of picking one of those up? I'll just say, when you mentioned the Northeast Minnesota Office of Job Training, I thought about maybe Commissioner Hawkins, in that some of the discussions about jobs have been related to housing construction. And we're looking at providing a contractor's workshop at Cook County Higher Ed, and I thought that might be a natural link for you. And the fact that it's virtual is currently is very helpful too. Is that something you'd be interested in doing?
Yeah, I would be willing to do that.
All right. And Commissioner Storley, are you interested in continuing as the alternate for that?
I could.
All right.
Commissioner Mills, what was the other one?
Local Mental Health Advisory Council. That's 1 PM on the second Tuesday of every month. Madam Chair, if I could give a little more context for, in the past, Northeast Minnesota Office of Job Training was acronymed NEMOJET. They've rebranded as just JET. I can't even remember what that stands for. Jobs, obviously, economic training. I happen to know that the chair, another, and at least one other prominent member of that group were not reelected. So there's going to be some significant turnover there and some significant knowledge loss. We also have a new executive director in that role. So there's an opportunity there, and she is actually taking that opportunity and looking at different options, and there's also changes coming down from deed that she has to navigate. So there's a lot of change there. I'm not sure how much value I would bring with that continuity, but as you said, just the continuity alone is valuable. But I was not the chair, and I feel like the leadership of that group was in other commissioners. So Commissioner Hawkins, just know that walking in that it's going to be a lot of new faces, and there's a real opportunity for you to speak your mind and just give our perspective there. So, but it's a great group.
Thank you for that additional explanation. That is valuable. All right, Public Health and Human Services Local Mental Health Advisory Council. Commissioner White, is that something you would entertain adding to your list?
And that's virtual.
Oh, that's virtual too.
So
That's
so
why
far.
I'm thinking,
So
Yeah.
far,
yeah.
sure. I mean, mental health has been a big thing in the school's agenda always.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, so.
Good, yes.
All right, very good. Well, thank you so much. All right, on to District 4. So I have had an opportunity to look through the list that I have and also look at some things that I have a few conflicts with, just when times have changed and such. And I am wondering about the Council on Aging, Cook County Council on Aging, and also the EDA, Economic Development Authority. And so looking at the Council on Aging, one of my thoughts is Commissioner Svalison had come to one of the meetings that I could only attend part of it. But I do know it fits with his schedule. It's the second Monday of the month at 1:30, and it's about a 1 to 2 hour meeting. And the role there, you're not a voting member, but the role is as communication. The Cook County Council on Aging has received grants through Public Health and Human Services over the years to assist with their program, in addition to doing Meals on Wheels and providing an increasingly, quite impressive number of meals on a daily basis, Monday through Friday. They do meals which are frozen, which they get to people for the weekends. And then they're back offering chair yoga, different kinds of cards, different kinds of crafts, but they're building back from the pandemic, and it's been really fun to see how that organization has changed in the last couple of years. They've developed new policies and procedures, have really streamlined their staff, and have a brand-new board. I mean, only one member from the former board, and they're just engaged and involved and really fun to work with.
And what day is that on?
So that is the second Monday of the month at 1:30. So is that something you would be willing to take on? Thank you, Commissioner White. With the Grand Marais Cook County Economic Development Authority, which we know as the EDA, I've been a really active member for the last couple of years. We've done a significant number of changes, having a new director, quite a number of new board members. We've really made some changes, and Commissioner Hawkins has been very involved, and I really appreciate all the effort she's put forth as an alternate to be there and to listen. And Commissioner Hawkins, I was wondering if you would be interested in being the primary on that organization.
I'd be willing to do that.
That would be great. And that is the third Tuesday of the month at 4 p.m. right here in the Commissioners' room. But then we would need an alternate.
Madam Chair, I would note, there are a couple of committees higher up on the list where Commissioner Swalson was the alternate, or we need to designate somebody for those.
Okay. So any alternate for the EDA?
I could do that.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Storley. All right. So I need to go back and do.
Madam Chair?
Yes, Commissioner Mills.
I don't have a strong feeling about this. I'm just throwing it out there. And I'm going to ask Commissioner Hawkins what your thoughts are. I have interest in the EDA as well. And you might be best suited because of your involvement there. I know you've also been interested in Personnel Committee, which is the same day but a different time. But I don't know if you had more interest in one or the other. But I currently sit on Personnel and be willing to switch to EDA if you would prefer Personnel, but I would want to do one or the other. So whatever your thoughts are there, and it doesn't have to be decided now, but I wanted to throw that out there in case.
I would be open to that. I probably will still attend some EDA as the alternate just to keep up on it, but if you would like to be the primary on that, I would be okay with that.
Yeah, I think that would be my preference if that's okay.
That would be
And
fine with me.
that would also involve Commissioner Storley's consent for the alternate back to Commissioner Hawkins.
Well, I can scratch my name off easily. Yes, I would easily give that to you, Dave.
Thank you. Thank you. And thank you,
So-
Commissioner Hawkins. Thank you, Madam Chair.
But Personnel is on the same day you said, okay.
Yeah, that's at
Correct.
1 p.m.
1 p.m.
So Commissioner.
Did I have a conflict?
Oh, you do?
No, I'm like, I don't know, do I?
Yeah. One thing I would mention with EDA, there is typically the person who is the primary on that serves as the secretary of the organization and also is on at least one committee. Currently, it's the Personnel Committee for the EDA. So those are a couple of additional responsibilities. I know Commissioner Hawkins is aware of that, but I just wanted to make sure, Commissioner Mills, you were aware of that.
I was not aware of that. Secretary is certainly not my strong suit. I should probably step back and think a little bit more.
Well, but it's not, that duty is not attached to that seat necessarily. They could select somebody else.
Yeah, or I could try to strengthen my note-taking skills.
It helps to know
To share
shorthand.
with you, typically, there is a note taker that is hired. When the note taker is unable to be there, that's when I would take minutes. It is challenging, I will say, and I've brought this up, Commissioner Hawkins knows, over and over and over again. It's really hard to be engaged in the meeting when you're taking notes.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think that that is a wise thing. And I think the role on the EDA Personnel Committee fits very well with, what's happened there. But they redo all of their committees every January. And so it would be a chance to maybe be on finance or something of that nature if personnel isn't the area that you would be interested in. It's up to you.
And after all that, Madam Chair, I do have a conflict on this 17th, but that's not a regular conflict, and I might be able to change that, so.
And I could certainly go on the 17th if.
Or Commissioner Hawkins.
Or if you don't have a conflict.
I don't.
Okay.
I'll try to reschedule, but thank you, Commissioner Hawkins, if that doesn't work for me.
Okay, I just want to clarify. So you're taking the EDA and I'm taking personnel.
If that's okay with you.
That is just fine.
Okay.
Yes, I'm very open to that. I thought maybe you were having second thoughts on it, so I just want to make sure.
And third, but we're sticking with that.
Okay.
All right,
Thank you.
great. All right.
Madam Chair, I
Yes,
just thought of
Commissioner
something that
Sterling.
might help Deb. There's an occasion with EDA that I would like to go to the meeting. We already have a representative from the board, mainly because of the housing that's going on in the West End, and I kind of want to keep up with that and what is going on there. So it is acceptable to sit in on a meeting that there already is a commissioner assigned
Yeah,
to
if
it.
there's two commissioners at a meeting, we're fine. When a third shows up, that's a quorum and somebody leaves.
Okay, yeah.
But it happens once in a while, but it's a very natural situation for Commissioner Storley to come to that because of the loan, in essence, or the grant that is being held by the EDA.
Yes.
All right. On to District 5, Commissioner Storley.
Oh, Madam Chair, do you want to go back up? There are a couple of,
Yeah, I just thought we'd wait till we went through
Okay.
all of them and then go back and do Commissioner Svollason's
okay,
alternates.
sounds good.
Okay, I don't have any changes. Everything is pretty much as stated. There possibly could be some additions for me in the future with the 11 counties, ARDC, Arrowhead Regional Development, and other meetings that I go to. So what I have now is good, and I can add out there a couple more things if it's so moved.
Okay. All right, let's go back then and look at the alternate positions for Commissioner Svolason now that we have our primaries, and see if those are going to fit given people's current schedules and what that would look like. So the first one I see is that District 1 was the alternate for the Highway Advisory Committee. And would that be something that would work for you, Commissioner White?
If it, if these advisory meetings are scheduled to not interfere with the ones that I'm assigned to, then there's no issue.
Okay, great. So we have the Highway Advisory Committee. And the Council on Aging.
Well, she's
You got that?
taking that one.
Yep, she's taking that, so we need an alternate. I'd be happy to be the alternate. All right,
For Highway,
for Council on Aging.
for Council on Aging.
And,
Arrowhead Regional Corrections Board, I see up there.
Correct.
I'm on that. That is a Duluth meeting. Occasionally, they meet by team, yeah, but it's rare. They're really not set up for it well. So that is a Duluth meeting, and it's on a Friday, third Friday of the month. I've been going.
Every month?
Yep.
And it's a day. I mean,
Well, it's,
the meeting's a couple of hours. And
yeah, it's hour and a half, depending on our agenda. So it's at 10 o'clock in the morning, but by the time you travel down and back, that's
a
the only
day.
thing I schedule usually.
Yes, I would be willing to be the alternate on that, of course.
Thank you. I see that District 1 was listed for the Law Library as an alternate.
And we've not met for, what is it, Molly? A year and a half or
Oh,
2
which
years?
The
So
Law
it's-
Library.
Oh, the law library. Yeah, I think 2019 is the last time,
Yeah,
or 2020.
so,
But it's typically an annual meeting.
yeah.
Okay. So Commissioner White will list for the Law Library and,
Alternate.
or alternate, yes. And then North Shore Scenic Drive Council as an alternate. And one that is near and dear to our hearts, the Vacation Rental Review Committee as an alternate.
Sure.
Lots of action, right,
Mhm.
Commissioner Storley?
Right.
And then Visit Cook County as an alternate.
That's usually hybrid, too.
Yep.
Okay.
There's also the Minnesota Power Citizen Advisory Committee. Is that
Thank
still active?
you.
Very limited.
Commissioner White, should we list you there in the event that they meet?
Or it's an alternate. I think Commissioner
Yeah.
Storley, you're the primary, is that right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep,
Sure.
okay. Anything else for the good of the order?
I'm sorry, when does the Chamber of Commerce meet? Maybe I could just
I do
Google it.
not have a current date on that. I know it has changed. And that was a meeting that originally I gave up to District 1 because of the fact that there was that conflict.
Wait, what conflict?
Time,
Oh.
time and date for me. Well, we will have to email Linda and get that information. All right, any other committees or commissions or boards that have been missed or that we need to address? If not, I would accept a motion to approve all the changes we have made.
Madam Chair, point of order, Commissioner Swalson was on the General Government Leadership Committee as vice chair, and so that would need to be taken off of District 1's list.
Right, that would go to Commissioner Mills as vice chair. Thank you for bringing that up. Any other amendments or changes? If not, is there a motion to approve the changes as completed this morning?
So moved.
Thank you, Commissioner Hawkins. Is there support?
Support.
Thank you, Commissioner Storley. We have a motion and support. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Auditor Powers.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So each year, it's recommended that the board approve our primary depository. I'm asking again that we stay with Grand Marais State Bank as our depository for county funds for 2023.
Thank you so much. Are there any questions for Auditor Powers? Commissioner White is coming in. Any questions you might have in particular? Okay, if not, I'd accept a motion to approve by resolution. Grand Marais State Bank is the primary depository for the upcoming year, or for the current year, excuse me, 2023.
So moved, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Mills. Is there support? Thank you, Commissioner Hawkins. We have a motion and support. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item B is our approval of the newspaper for our legal publications.
Yeah, so we sent out an RFP for that. We had one response, which is what you would expect, is we actually have one legal newspaper in the county, and no one has, someone from outside of the county could respond, but you would know it in advance because they'd have to be covering our meetings actively before they did. So we have one bid, Cook County News Herald. They did not change their prices, so it's still basically $9 a column inch for all of our legal publications. We can use them for other publications, but this is for the legal publications, so that the public knows where to look. So that's for approval of the Cook County News Herald. It's our legal publication.
Any questions for Auditor Powers? Not, I'd entertain a motion.
So moved.
Thank you, Commissioner Hawkins. Is there support?
Support.
Thank you, Commissioner White. All right, we have a motion and support. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. And now discussion of the mileage rate.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. So in the past, we have accepted and authorized reimbursement at the federal rate, and that federal rate has changed beginning on January 1st. It now goes up to 65.5%, or 0.5 cents, up from 62.5. So I'd ask if you wish to continue that federal rate, that we approve that now for the first payments in the new year.
It was my understanding that we wanted to continue with that federal rate when we had this discussion last time. I would agree. And if there's a way by motion, we can just say, we will continue at the federal rate for perpetuity. That would be great. Then we don't have to revisit it all the time. Is there a motion?
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion that we continue the mileage rate at 65.5.
Is there support?
Support.
Thank you, Commissioner White. We have a motion and support. Any further discussion?
Are we including, saying in the motion, it's the federal rate in case it changes? I'm just
And, yeah,
clarifying.
if you, huh?
Do we need an amendment to the?
Yeah, if you want to make it in perpetuity, I'd make it as an amendment. Otherwise, the other alternative is, could come back, you could just approve it the way it is now. It could come back with a resolution. It might make it a little more formal. You had something to say?
Madam Chair, if I could, I was just going to note, I think it'd be good for us to, when those rates do change, which they do frequently in response to changes in fuel prices, that there be at least an effort to report that information to the board.
Okay. That
So
makes sense.
regardless of how you handle the motion, I think we need to do that.
Okay.
I agree. I think that's a good idea.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we know, and it's not just happening in Brady's office.
Right,
Right.
right. Good point.
Yeah.
So do you want to amend your motion at all, Commissioner Storr?
Well, I'll amend it to, and I make a motion that we accept the mileage rate in perpetuity to the current rate of 2023 at 65.5. Would that work?
That,
No.
It would just be at the federal
Federal
rate.
rate.
Federal rate.
As,
Okay.
yeah, as whatever it changes to
Correct.
Okay.
in the future.
It could change in the middle of the year.
It does sometimes,
Okay.
depending on
Last year.
how often,
Okay.
the market changes. Sometimes it doesn't, but
Okay.
sometimes it does.
Okay.
And would you want to second that motion as
Yes,
amended?
I
Thank
will.
you, Commissioner White. So we have an amended motion and second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Hi.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Administrator Yorkie.
All right. Well, I don't have anything major to report this week. I will next week at the business meeting. Well, I shouldn't say I'll have something major. I'll have an update at next week's meeting. I don't have one today, but I do want to wish you all and anybody who's watching a Happy New Year. I'm really excited about the work ahead in the coming year and excited to welcome Commissioner White to this board. Look forward to working with you. And that's about it for me this time.
All right, thank you. Well, given that, is there a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Commissioner White. Is there
Support.
support? There is. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? We are adjourned.
I think that's a record.
It's hard not to vote.